other than to you.
I'm going to treat you the way I treat everybody.
Okay.
So why are you nervous?
I'm just nervous. Because I'm always nervous. It's just I drank coffee today. That's probably another reason. I wasn't drinking coffee.
Yeah. Do I look crooked? I am a little crooked.
I can't.
I'm trying to chill. Those that have been listening to the pod know that I pulled my back. That's the extent of what they know.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm a little crooked, but that's the only thing I'm like self-conscious about. But other than that, I feel good. We're going to the movies later.
We are. I'm a little... I don't know why I said yes to this movie.
You can still get out, and I'll take someone else.
No, I want to see it because I want to go to the movies.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm not emotionally prepared for this. So
I know. We're going to watch Dancer in the Dark on 35 millimeter at the Austin Film Society. So that's just something I could not pass up. That's something I had to. That's like a bucket list. I had to watch.
Right. It's gonna fuck me up.
Yeah.
I've seen it.
I know.
But it's
been over 10 years for me.
Yeah, I think we saw it together.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
And I probably vowed to never see it again, which is why I never brought it up.
I know. I know. But here we are. We're going to watch it with a crowd of people.
That's okay. It'll be fun.
The last like cool, weird movie I saw there, other than when we went to go see Josh's film, was Inland Empire. Oh, and that was like a weird vibe. But people were laughing and they were cool, you know? Yeah. Not laughing at it, but like just the tension made people uncomfortable. So I wonder what kind of crowd we're going to have, but it's going to be interesting. Last time we did a pod, both of us were all in on our jobs, on our small business. I mean, Indie Darlings. And now I have a full-time job. So I made a video saying like I failed and now I'm going back to the 9 to 5. And a lot of people took that as I'm done forever with like my dreams. And that's not necessarily the case. But client work for me, not my favorite thing.
Yes, I learned that.
Without going, and you don't have to say anything you don't want to say, but what have you learned in the past 500 days of deciding to be a social media manager and going all in on your full-time business and working with people actually doing the job as opposed to like just studying courses? Like what have you learned in the past year?
Yeah, so I was doing, I have my own thing, right? Like, yes, we work together doing social media and marketing, content creation and all that. And sorry, that distracted me. So it's hard to get into it because I don't want to go into like specifics. But yeah, when I quit my job, I wanted to do just me, right? And I did feel very aligned with myself. It was a good time for me to just take a break from the corporate world. I had been there for 4 years at my job, great people. I just wasn't feeling it anymore. The vibes were off, And then it was a lot, like being self-employed was a lot harder than I thought. And what I mean is like, obviously it's going to be hard, right? I learned where my weaknesses were as far as a business, as far as finding clients go. I think I also learned like how good I am, where I need to improve, all those things, right? Who I like working with and all that. I guess the biggest issue was that we have a big overhead. Bills are expensive because there's 5 of us, and if it was just me and you, surely we could have kept doing that, right?
Our overhead would be $3,000, which is probably like the average single person. Yeah. With 2 people, both of us would just have to bring in $1,500 a month to break even. Yeah. And live a decent life. Right. But that's not what we signed up for.
No, we signed up for pretty. I think it's fucking expensive. Everything is expensive, but pretty big. Everything is expensive, right, for us. And when we had the money, it was fine, right? And then it was like, well, let's keep up with this lifestyle. I'm not going to go backwards. I don't want to go backwards. I don't want to live anywhere else. I do talk about like moving to South Austin, but like planned out in time, right? But we live North Austin, and I just think that I would have considered all that a little bit more, but I was so delulu. I just went off fucking pure faith, and we've made it this far, right? We've been very fortunate and lucky that we're still here, despite being like self-employed, not making the same amount that we used to make when had full-time jobs. And we're still going. And then there was a point where I found a job, and then eventually you found a job, right? Mm-hmm. And so where you talk about I think from my point of view, like, it's worked out for you, and I think it's very fitting for you, and I'm very happy that it's working for you and that you actually enjoy it, you know. For me,
I don't hate it.
You don't hate it. Yeah. But you're also like, to me, it's like, well, you make YouTube videos, mm-hmm. right, for work, so you're gonna walk away with a lot, mm-hmm. you know. When I got my job, I was already doing social media and management and content creation. Mm-hmm. So I got a job last year. I got a job for owners who own 2 restaurants, right? So it was twice as much work.
2 different businesses doing social media management for 2 different businesses.
Social media management and marketing. Yeah. And a lot of graphic design. Mm-hmm. So the workload was heavy. I was able to manage it, but there were a lot of red flags immediately. Mm-hmm. And it's hard
with what? With the job?
No, in my opinion, with leadership and management, mm-hmm. right? With management. Yeah.
Go figure. I mean, I think so many people can relate to that.
Yes. And I'm like hesitant to talk about it because mm-hmm. I don't just want to like word vomit, right? I want to be careful with what to say or with what I'm saying about the job. So the job itself was fine. The responsibilities were everything that I was doing. I was learning a lot too. I was getting better at what I was doing. I was taking a lot of food photography videos, reels, running the TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, website management, right? And I was working with I was networking, and I was working with a lot of other, how do you say it? Like,
other vendors?
The vendors, pretty much, right? Mm-hmm. So I was learning a lot, right? And I was just getting better at what I was doing because I was also had been doing account management before that. So I kind of just knew how to just went right into it. Mm-hmm. And I did get a lot of joy with creating content, like finding new ways to showcase these food items, right? Mm-hmm. And it was great. All my coworkers are great, you know. Management was great. My problems lied with the owners. In my opinion, they were very bad at communicating. And what I mean by that is I would not hear about any updates mm-hmm. in a timely manner ever. If they went out of town, I didn't know. They're like, we're releasing these items. They're already on the menu. Okay, but you don't tell your marketing or social media person or loop them in at any time. They would want one thing, say one thing, and then ask for another thing or whatever it was. That was just like one red flag. Another red flag is how they treated me. Like, I can't speak for anybody else, right? But how they treated me. I had emergency gallbladder surgery Mother's Day weekend.
On Mother's Day,
right? Yeah. So Friday feeling bad, Thursday and Friday feeling bad. Had gallbladder, had went into the hospital Saturday, had the surgery Sunday, and I was out by Sunday night. Right, Monday morning comes around. I write them an email saying, "Hey, had surgery. Here's my note. I'm gonna be out all week."
I think it's worth noting that at this point, you had 2 part-time jobs.
Yes. So I'll rewind a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. So this was like month 4 of working with them, right? So a couple of months before, I had expressed that I wanted to be a bit more independent when it comes to some of the tasks that they wanted me to do.
Were they micromanaging you?
Yes. I was writing down every task that I did, how much time I spent on it, weekly goals. And that's fine because you want to see where your money goes, right?
Of course.
But then telling me how to prioritize this after I've already been prioritizing for months. And coincidentally, I'm up to 40 hours now because this is a part-time job. You want to see what I'm doing with my time.
Did they tell you that you can work that many hours?
Yes. They've told me before, so I was working that many hours. Mm-hmm. And they
obviously knew that this is how much we're giving her.
Yeah.
And so she's going to do that.
Yeah. And so they told me focus more on our second restaurant. Focused on it. Marketing. It's, we need it to be better. It's cool. All my tasks were focused on that. They would come back and say, but do this instead. Focus it on this instead. Don't do that. And I'm just like, okay, I need to, send me your list so that we can help you prioritize. And I said, this is where I need my independence. This independence that you've brought up before. You don't want to tell me what to do. You don't want to be so hands-on. Great, I agree. Give me some more independence. Give me some more creative freedom. And we had that conversation in person. But then later on in emails, it was like, no, we're not going to step back here. I said, fine, whatever. So yes, I believe they were micromanaging me. I was working my way up to 40 hours. But when I asked for this independence in an email, I got no response. The next day we had a meeting and they cut my hours. And
what was the reason for that?
The reason it was that they didn't think I wasn't comfortable doing marketing. They were asking me to do tasks that I wasn't comfortable doing, or that they believed that I didn't want to turn things in, even though I never said that. When I continuously turned the weekly tasks in, I was being gaslit the whole time about.
Do you think that you sent that email and then they punished you?
I think so. I think any email where I stood up for myself and they didn't respond, was anything after that was retaliation on their part.
Yeah.
Right. But their reasoning was that they believed that I didn't feel comfortable doing certain tasks, marketing, so I wasn't going to do marketing for their second business, and that was going to be outsourced to another business. So I said, okay, sure. So they cut my hours.
And this is before that you got surgery.
Yeah. So this is before I got surgery, right? So, but that time I was like, okay, you know what? I have a full-time job. Let me get a second job on the weekends because I want to aggressively pay some things off. I want to catch up from the last year. I want to I have time. I'm going to use that time. Right.
Well, they cut your hours.
Right. This is before, right? I was going to be work full time, work on the weekends at my second job. Mm-hmm. Right. And then they cut my hours the week that I got hired at the second job. I started at the second job. So then I had to balance out 25 hours at this job and then 22 hours at my second job. Right. And also being at that second job, one reason I wanted to get it was because they made me feel so bad at my first job. I was like, this is not how you should treat people. This is not how you should treat employees, or how I can't speak on how they run their business, but this is not how you treat people. So when I went to my second job, I was treated with so much respect and appreciation and a lot of thank yous and a lot of hellos, how are you? What are you doing? People trying to get to know me. I'm getting to know them.
Night and day difference.
Extremely, just a lot, just even thank you for coming today to work. Mm-hmm. They tell me that at the end of every shift, right? Well, they tell everybody, right? Not just me. They tell everybody. And I noticed that because the other job could never, they never did that. So there was not a lot of appreciation, at least on my end. Never thank you for coming to the meeting, right? But we appreciate you. Never any of that. I dreaded going to the meetings. Had so much anxiety. I never did anything right in these meetings, or at least during the meetings, I felt like I never did anything right. They were never happy with any of the work that I did, which is why I had so much anxiety coming into these meetings, right? It's well, what are they going to tell me now? One of them, I don't know if I mentioned it was a husband and wife. One of them.
Husband and wife owners?
Yes. They were always complaining, always came in upset, and would talk to me very rudely. And I was just so taken back by the way they would speak to me, that like it sort of just shocked me and I couldn't speak up.
So I want to make a distinction here, and I'll get your thoughts on this. What if someone's hearing this and they're thinking, wow, Claire's a delicate snowflake. Like, she needs to be treated what? Like,
no.
Like, you know, what if someone's listening to this and thinking,
right, like I'm defensive, or
yeah, you're defensive and you're not being
emotional.
treated with respect. You're emotional, hysterical, you're a woman, right? So you're obviously more emotional in the workplace and you're not treated like, you know, what do you say to that?
Right. So I would say, if you asked, I asked a lot of my coworkers, because there was a lot of guilt and a lot of bad feelings and negative feelings working here. And for a long time, I'm like, is it me? Am I being sensitive? Am I like crazy here? Am I being gaslit here? Like, I feel like this is wrong. But I talked to a lot of my coworkers and I got validation for my feelings.
Why? Because did they feel similar?
They felt similar. I mean, again, I can't speak for them, right?
But they knew.
They knew what I was talking about.
They understood.
We were all on the same page, I believe.
Okay.
You know, I think a lot of us, not everybody, but we were all on the same page about their management and especially their leadership, right? And there was just a couple of things too that they did as managers that having my own business, that I noticed that they weren't doing. Like, there was just a lack of this and that, and it's like, well, why didn't you do it differently, right? Or you could have done it differently. You could have done something. But over time, talking to my coworkers, I knew that I wasn't crazy. Plus, there's a lot of public reviews about the company as employers, but also as just a regular business. And just reading comments and reviews that were so consistent with how I felt. And so I was like, okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm not thinking like, am I being sensitive? But just to go back to what I was saying, like, I was very thrown off about how, like, I've never heard someone like speak to me that way as an employer, right? Maybe if I'm.
Can you make an example? You don't have to, you know, you don't have to like paint it with a lot of context, but like, what's something that they said that was disrespectful or rude or crossed a boundary with you?
Well, okay.
Or is it like, it's not what they say, it's how they say it?
It's, I guess, how they said it. It could, I mean, everything they said could have been said differently. And the emails, very passive aggressive. I recorded something that was missing an ingredient, right?
Filmed something.
I filmed something for social media. It was missing an ingredient. And I put it on the calendar, on the content calendar for approval. I didn't find out about that till the next day after I'd submitted it. Friday. I didn't find out till Friday afternoon. They told me, oh yeah, when you filmed it, somebody else, the person I was working with was like, oh yeah, when we filmed that, it was missing this. And I said, oh, okay, then we're not going to use it. I know they're not going to like it. Obviously we can't use it because it's not how it comes, how it's served. So we're not going to use that. So I knew that. So I get the email like Monday morning, right? I don't go back to my emails. I don't work on the weekends, right? I set a strict boundary. I'm not going to work weekends. After I'm clocked out, I'm clocked out. You know, Monday morning comes along. It's like, hey, this is missing this ingredient. And I said, oh yeah, I didn't find out until after the fact. Their response was, why would we use that? And I said, we don't have to. And it's like, well, why was it on there? This must be miscommunication, to which I explained, this was on there. I found out after the fact, right? And this was addressed in the email. Like I said, I found out after the fact.
So what, they expected you on the weekend to change it as soon as possible? Or what?
I don't know. Because we had that exchange through email. And I said, oh yeah, I told them I found out after the fact. I filmed it. Then I found out Friday afternoon that we weren't going to use that. Mm-hmm. And because it was still on the calendar, you know, her response is, why are we going to use that? And I was like, well, I know we're not, you know, we're not, but you're still kind of arguing with me about it. And then we discussed it in person. And I explained again, it was just left on the calendar, right? We don't have to use it. And it wasn't a discussion. And then I remember them asking me, did you think we were? At this point, it's like, no, I didn't think we were. Like, you've really enforced only film what we're going to put out.
It sounds to me like they're projecting that you're incompetent.
There was a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of that.
Would you call them incompetent?
No, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Because I believe that, you know, they obviously know how they know how to start up a business, open up a business, and run a business, right? Restaurants, right? I think they just lack a lot of leadership skills, empathy. I think soft skills. They don't really communicate well.
You're being very diplomatic.
Right. I am, because it's hard for me to, you know, because I don't want to like complain or like get into specifics, say that this and this and this, right?
Okay.
I can't, like, you know, you mentioned, give me an example, right? So that was one. There's just a lot of passive aggressiveness in emails that were like that. And not just to me, to other vendors and other emails that I've been into.
Was there ever a moment that you can recall where you're like, I want to quit? Did it ever get that bad?
There was a lot of moments. I mean, a lot of moments where I'm like, I'm going to rage quit because of the passive aggressiveness in these emails. Like, who talks to people that way? And it wasn't just to me. It was to people they were working with, like people who own their website, people like their vendors, right?
Well, I want to make something clear. So sometimes I'll read a text or an email or a tweet or something, and I read it in a really shitty tone.
Right.
But it's probably me. It's probably not the way it's said.
Right. And that's what
So how can you tell in an email? How can you tell if something's said in a dickhead way?
Right. And I questioned myself too. Like, at some point I'm like, am I reading this wrong? Mm-hmm. Like, why do I keep reading this wrong? But it's in an email too. Like, there's no tone of voice. Well, there is a tone of voice, but there is no like how they said it. Right. But the fact that they were like that in person too. And another example is, one of them is just, they know that people have complained about how he talks to others.
One of the owners?
Yes.
Husband and wife owner.
Yes.
So the husband talks to who? Customers a certain way?
Both employees, customers.
Okay.
It's been acknowledged. It's been brought up.
Where?
With other people.
In the workplace, or do you mean like on a review?
Online. In reviews, they get very defensive.
When they're criticized, their business
yes.
or their service is criticized?
Anything. Right. And it's even been brought up. There's a review that's like, they get defensive in their comments and their replies.
Well, and that sounds like consistent pattern.
Yes. So there was a lot of there's a consistency when, you know, you see it in emails, you hear it in person. But, you know, coming into this one meeting, there was an update. We were waiting for something. Mm-hmm. And I said, hey, this is, hear me forward this email. These are the updates. And then I didn't hear anything back. But then I just happened to check on these updates because I was like, well, let me just see where they're at. Did they respond? Right? Because they have final say on everything. And I saw that there was a reply. And so I didn't bring it up until our meeting. And, you know, he responded with, if you knew, like, why did you take so long to tell us? Like, why? Like, it was something like very, like, didn't say hi to me. And it just comes in just very, like, bad energy, very negative. Like, I need to go. I need to get this over with. A couple of times we were just like, I need to leave. Like, can we wrap this up? Which is kind of like, okay, you don't want to be here. Whatever. And, like, that was, like, the first thing he said to me during the meeting. You know, why, if you knew, why are you barely just telling us right now? And I said, I'm just telling you. I didn't even know to check. Like, it's not my final say. I just happened to check. You know, and I was constantly defending myself against the criticism that I would get, because everything was met with criticism.
Well, I kind of want to say that I think this is a little unfair when you had meetings, it was you and who else? The two owners?
The two owners. So it's
2-on-1.
2-on-1, yeah. And so I would get criticism. This is not about feedback. This is not feedback for the content, because that's different. And yes, give me all the feedback. If it's bad and I need to fix it, I'll do it. But this was the way they would talk to me during these meetings. And then so that whole thing about, why didn't I tell them? It was turned around, it was turned around on me, and it was like, well, you need to communicate better. And I was like, I don't even know.
So I have this itch I have to scratch in my brain. I have had experience working with an array of clients.
Right.
Different personalities, men and women, different attitudes, different leadership styles, you name it. I have a ton of experience working with clients and different temperaments and all that. I lost my train of thought. Hold on, it's coming. I don't know. I guess like I want to not play devil's advocate, but like defend a small business owner,
right?
And say, what if they're just overwhelmed, and what could they have possibly done any different? They must have a high overhead as well. They have different people on the payroll. They're stressed out. Have a lot of empathy with them. Is there any way that you can cut them some slack? Like, is this a Mad Men situation where they don't need to thank you because they're paying you?
Paid. I want to say no, but I did tell them, like, I know what it's like to run a business, to have a business, to own a business. Sure, I have a business on a very small scale compared to yours, and I did mention that. I know you're probably stressed and overwhelmed because it's two businesses. You have over 50 employees or whatever it is, so I understand if you're stressed. What could they have done differently? Not take it out on your employees. I think they could have treated me at least differently. It was a lot of micromanaging. They could have trusted me more, right? That's what you're hiring me to do. They could have trusted me more in content creation. And I say that because they vocalized how they don't want to be hands-on. And I feel like that's a choice at this point. I was there 6 months. At like the third month, they were like, we don't want to be hands-on. We're doing, and they did everything, right? They did everything.
What does that mean?
They did, before I was there, they did all the marketing, they did all the branding, the logos, the colors. They managed, they talked to vendors. They worked all the time, I imagined, right? Because I would get emails at like, Saturday at 1 a.m., right? So I know they did everything. But they, if you hire someone to do a job, shouldn't you let them do the job? They would sit at the very beginning. He would sit down with me and like edit with me, edit a TikTok or a reel. And I was like, okay, cool. A little like bonding. We're getting to know each other. But then it became like, oh, this 1 second, take it out. Or this one shot. And I'm like, it's like 20 seconds. You really want me to spend time taking that out?
So I remember what I was going to say because this is triggering for me.
Why?
I guess like I'm a little bit mixed up about this because I've worked with a variety of clients, different temperaments, all that. One consistent thing that I see is a sort of micromanagement. There's a meme where the client that pays $200, 30 revisions. The client that pays $20,000, no revisions, invoice is sent.
You're blocking the camera there.
Sorry. It's going to happen.
Oh.
And so that's a meme, and I've been fortunate enough to work with those clients where, you get a big fat payday, but it came with hundreds of revisions. It came with like, they were up, I'll speak for me, they were up my ass.
Right.
And so I feel like I'd like to think, okay, so let me just speak for me. I have had the privilege of being in a position where I had to hire videographers or video editors to help me do stuff to scale the business. They did not, and I let them do, I thought they were competent. I let them do what I asked them to do. I gave them the parameters, the direction. I'm a director. I gave them the direction. They did not meet my expectations, and so I had to fire them.
Okay.
And I fired them in a way where I was like, look, I'm going to pay you up front. What I basically don't have to pay you, but like I'm going to finish the deal. I'm going to fire you, but I'm going to finish paying you off. And so I think that's just my way of being like, no hard feelings. Like, I don't want you to say that Knives Monroe was a bad businessman. I tried to be honorable. I tried.
Right.
Because that's the way I've learned from like some masters in business. And when it comes to leadership is, you know, just to be honorable.
Right.
And I did not project onto them. I could have been up their ass and I could have asked for, do it this way. Here's the hex code. Do this. Hey, let me show you how I want. I could have did that.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole point of hiring them was to delegate that task and not
right.
and offload it for me so I can focus on other things. And one commonality that I've seen with other business people is they want, whether if they're paying you, whether if there's a contract, whether if they're paying you hourly, part-time, whatever the parameters are, they want a full-time effort.
Mm-hmm.
They want like a salary-styled effort. They want you to answer that call at 9 p.m. when you're in bed. They want you to go above and beyond. I've seen that across the board where, yo, I have a life. I do other things. I have multiple clients, but you want me to treat you, wine and dine you like, you know, this is the thing that I learned about running my own business is they are your boss. You have multiple bosses instead of one. Versus right now with this full-time job that I have one boss. And it's easy to please them because I can read their mind after a while. I know that I can do that.
Yeah.
But in client world, you're their slave. Like you're their slave. You know, it's a service role and you have to make them happy or you can fire them. So I wanted to ask you, did they project like a sort of full-time effort even though you were part-time, even though they cut your hours? What did they expect from you to go like above and beyond?
Honestly, I don't know what they expected because when I got hired, it was social media marketing specialist. And then when they took away the marketing part, I was still doing a lot of graphic design, a little bit of marketing, but mostly social media management. So it's like, okay, I'll just do that. So my role changed like 3 times before I was fired, now that I left, right?
Well, I feel like that's the first time you've said this on the pod.
Yeah.
They fired you.
Yeah, they fired me, right?
For what reason, since you brought it up?
Well, let me go back to, I'm all over the place.
Yeah,
right,
I'm trying to keep it on track. You're doing great.
We should have started at the beginning.
I know.
So yeah, they had taken marketing away right when I got the second job, right? And the second job has been great, and I'm still there,
mm-hmm.
right? It's great. Everyone's great there. So they took marketing away. I'm only working with...
Did you feel like that was a punishment?
I felt like I was very confused. I didn't feel like it was a punishment. I felt like it was retaliation for my email for saying, no, I don't need your help at this point. I've got a thing going on. I understand what you need, what you've been asking for. Hard emphasis on the marketing of their second business. So I looked at in that meeting, I looked at my daily tasks, and I'm like, 80% of this is focused on marketing this business. So why are you taking it away from me? And then saying you're going to outsource this. Like, do you understand that it's going to take, and then they post, it's going to take months for anyone to do research. And I've already been here like 4 months to do research
Paving the road.
Yeah. So I've got a very big understanding now. And I said, by February, I had an understanding of everything. And they did not like that. From November.
How do you know they didn't like that?
Because they told me. They use it against me as well. You're not meeting our standards. It's not fast enough. To learn 2 businesses, to learn audience, marketing, content, everything for these 2 businesses at the same time. It wasn't fast enough because we weren't where they, I wasn't getting them to where they wanted to be, which is fine if of course, you want your marketing person to meet certain goals and achieve certain things. But it was confusing because really big emphasis on marketing that, getting more sales. And then in an email, it was like, well, we need to focus on more sales. And I said, I don't do sales. I do marketing. I help generate leads for this. They do go hand in hand, but I'm not responsible for your sales. And in an email, they said that they were going to measure my marketing, my marketing efforts on sales, which I thought was incorrect. Like you're setting me up to fail. Because if your product, it's so many things. Your product's not good, your location is bad, whatever it is, your photos or whatever, right? There's so many factors that can go into the sales, right? If people don't like your food, they don't like your food, and that's not my fault, and it cannot be my fault, right? Do people like their food? Yes, right? They got good reviews, but they also have bad reviews, like any business. And so I gave a little pushback there. In that same time, and they did not like that,
and they took away that role,
and they took away the marketing. And it's like, okay, you want to hire a company that everyone's weeks of research goes into it before you can do anything, so it was confusing on that. But they also asked me not to do a quarterly marketing strategy. They specifically said, don't spend time doing that. Because they were tracking my hours and effort and time and paying me for that hour. So they asked me not to do that. They asked me also not to do analytics for social media.
How can you do marketing without the the numbers, the analytics?
I don't fucking know.
I would ask them that. I mean,
they're measuring everything by sales. I think in their mind it was, if its sales are good, everything else is good. I don't really know. But they specifically asked me at the end of March.
If the sales go up, you have to be able to trace it back to the marketing.
Correct. You have to find out why.
To trace it to the numbers.
What's working? Why is it working? And let's do it again. Yes. Right? To put it simply.
Say it's emails that's successful, or say it's TikToks that's successful, or say it's Facebook Lives, or whatever it is that's successful. Put the gas on that, but you have to measure that.
Right. Yeah. So at the end of March, this is all in March, right? At the end of March, I said I'm working, my daily task, I'm working on the next quarter's marketing strategy, because it goes together with the content strategy, because I'm not just throwing shit on the calendar, right? Mm-hmm. They specifically asked me not to do that. They said, we need stuff now. What are your ideas now? Don't work on the next quarter. And I'm like,
is it so counterproductive?
Is it April the next quarter? Like, is it not the next quarter?
It is, yeah.
Like, technically.
It's a new quarter.
So I was confused on that. I was confused on, okay, don't do social media analytics. Don't even look into it or report it, because I did it once and then they asked me not to do it anymore. Don't do marketing strategy, any of that. They said they know what works and doesn't work. I said, fine. Okay, I won't do that. Did I do it for for myself? Yes. I have all my screenshots. I have, I could put that on a presentation if I wanted to. So I have my analytics. Just so I can prove to myself, oh, it did work, it didn't work. Just so that I know, building the content strategy, what was going to work and where I need to make improvements.
That's very professional.
Yeah, I did it anyways. I wasn't not going to do it. You can't not do it, right? And so I needed to see also followers, the growth, right? All that. So that was around, so that's around the time that they cut my hours. They hired a new manager coincidentally at that same week that she started.
Do you think they cut your time to funnel money to them?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I think it's all about money. It's always about the money. Sales and all that, the numbers, which I get. It's a business. You have to really focus and pay attention on that, Could they have been honest? They could have been honest. I would be incredibly understanding, of course, right? Give me a heads up, just, right, say something. But I think they were trying, I don't know. I think they were just finding other reasons, because if, you were, what doesn't make sense is that you wanted to know where your money was going by telling me what to do, how to do it, when to do it. But if you outsource to a different company, You don't get that luxury.
Mm-hmm.
You don't, they turn their stuff in and you don't know how they did it or when they did it,
they're probably going to track the analytics.
Of course, any good marketing company will track analytics and give it to you, right? Any good social media manager will give you that information anyways, but they were telling me not to. So it went, everything they told me not to do or to do went against everything that I learned and have been doing as social media management and marketing, which was very confusing, which was like, which is why I kept going. Like, am I being gaslit? Like, why did you hire me to do social media if you don't want me to do it? Right. And it even
do you think they understand social media?
No, they didn't. There was a lot of issues with TikTok. And if you're not on TikTok, so they wanted me to make a TikTok for one of the businesses is split in two. So I had to make 3 TikToks, not just 2 TikToks.
3 separate TikTok channels.
Yes. So I ran 3 separate TikToks, created content for that, created content for Instagram and Facebook for the 2 businesses. So I made like 9 pieces of content.
That's a full-time job just by itself.
It is. Yes, I just work very quickly. 9 pieces of content. That also included emails, at least once a week, and text messaging. And so also every month I would design 6 billboards. Why they needed to be 6? I think that's a little too much, but that's what they wanted, right? So I created a lot of content. So I got really good at like graphic design. I think I got a lot better at least.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I started doing TikTok, and the feedback that I got is think about what we want and do that for social media.
But they're not even on TikTok.
Exactly. So
did you ever hand in content and they were like, I don't get it?
All the time. Every time for TikTok. And it's like, okay, you want me to build a TikTok, but you're not on it. Do you trust me to make I've been on it since 2020, and I've made TikToks, and I've had TikToks go viral on my personal accounts. I mean, you should be like, okay, I trust you. Let's see how it works out. We'll talk about it. Open discussion, brainstorm. If you want me to explain, I'll explain. I'll give examples, the whole thing, right? To get a better understanding. But they weren't interested in understanding. They just wanted, we don't like that. Do this specific thing instead for TikTok. And it's like, I can do that. Are you asking me to do that? And did they ever follow up? Did they ever ask about analytics or comments or anything? They just they never followed up on social media content. They just said, we want this specific thing, know what we want, and put it out there. And so it's like, okay, then I'm not really like, I felt like I was not being a social media manager. I was just being like an assistant. You're just giving me the task and I go do it. And to which point, at the end, I was going to say, you're better off with an assistant. If you didn't hire me for my skills or my experience or my knowledge of these platforms
and strategy,
if you don't want strategy or anything, like, you're better off with just an assistant telling them what to do, right? But we never made it to that point. I never got to the point where I could say that. But the day before I was going to say that, I was going to.
Did you ever feel like you were comfortable enough to express yourself in these meetings?
No.
Is that like an inadequacy and insecurity on your part, or is that some sort of external force?
So when it was both of them, no, I think it was just their intimidation. I think I was intimidated by them. But when it was just the wife, the owner, it was easier for me to say things.
Because it's like woman to woman, or just because it was one person?
One person, but she was more understanding and a tiny bit more. She's more empathetic, and she was easier to talk to. So yeah, but to go back to finish my story about cutting my hours and all that, that went on, and then I had that was March, and then in May I had the emergency surgery, and I never got so I sent the email. I sent it to restaurant manager and the owner.
That you had surgery and you're going to be out?
Yes, that I was going to be out the whole week. Yeah, I also let my other job know, right? I did not receive any response from them till Friday.
What about like a text saying like, are you okay?
Nope. I sent them email. I said I had surgery. I'm fine now.
Did they even ask like, hey, what about this content or anything?
No.
They just ghosted you for a week?
The owners, yes. The restaurant manager, when I think she was off like Monday and Tuesday or something. So whenever her like next day coming back to work, that's when she responded, right? Which I knew, which I was like, okay, I know she's not going to be, probably not to be checking her emails. So I could have texted her, right? But no, I didn't hear anything, which was going to be my other point. Like, how do you not give a shit about your employees like that? Not even like, hope you're okay, feel better. I got no response. And I got no email. And I believe the only reason I got an email that day was because there was a lot of other emails, things that needed to be addressed by the end of the week. And it was like, well, then they addressed, hope you're feeling better. I hope you're better now or whatever. Right. But nothing. And then, a couple of weeks after but during that time, in that same email, my hours were cut again to 15.
Wait a second. After surgery?
Yeah. During the week I was out. Yes.
During the week you were out, they cut your hours again?
Yes.
To what?
To 15 hours. Which is like, okay, I've got to be only doing one thing if you're cutting my hours. And their reason was that per our discussion before your surgery to, cover themselves, we're going to outsource everything for the second business. Mm-hmm. And so before I was still doing the content for their second business. It was just the marketing. And now they're outsourcing everything. So I was not dealing with the second business anymore, just the first business and just social media.
Okay.
And so it was like, they slowly like chipped away all these responsibilities. So this was like the third time my responsibilities changed.
Do you think it was just bad timing on their part that you had surgery, or do you think it was a retaliation that like she's going to be gone for the week? Fuck her?
I mean,
What do you think?
What do I think?
How do you feel?
I think, I was annoyed by it because it's like, I just had surgery and then you're cutting my hours on top of not responding to me or saying anything to me. So yeah, I felt like annoyed and I felt like it was retaliation. But in the emails, it wasn't because I was out, and it wasn't because
They didn't put that on paper.
Correct. That wasn't on paper. What was written down is it was per discussions before my surgery. Is that you're not doing any marketing for anything, just graphic design and social media for the first business, which is like, okay, fine. At this point, like,
I gotta ask. At this point where you are, why not quit? Like 15 hours?
I know. I could have, right? Knowing I could have, but that was like money that I didn't have.
So basically you got to pay the bills.
I got bills to pay. And I like...
So 15 hours,
right.
Fuck it. I'm going to take it.
Right.
You have a second job.
I have a second job.
They were flexible with you while you had your surgery? You were out because you were booked?
The second job?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you were scheduled and then you had to tell them, like, I had emergency surgery?
Yes. So that job...
They were cool?
Is very... Yes, absolutely. They're very understanding. I didn't even have to turn anything in, but they're very accommodating afterwards. They're still kind of are because hasn't almost been a month. But yeah, no, they're great. But this job, yeah, I thought about it. It's like I should just quit at this point because they're pushing me out, or I feel like they're pushing me out. Mm-hmm. Everyone I talked to was like, girl, not everyone, but people in my circle that I've talked to were like, yeah, you might as well just quit at this point, right? But I didn't want to.
Do you think they wanted you to quit?
Of course.
Why of course?
Because when I came back, I would go into the restaurant, right, to film. They never acknowledged, like, they passed by me and would not say hi. Which is kind of like...
Intentionally, do you think?
Which is kind of like, okay, Claire, they don't have to say hi to you every time. But I hadn't seen, I go in there and the other employees like, hey, Claire, like, what's going on? Or I haven't seen you in a while, right? And then I'm like, I got surgery, whatever, right? but no, they like just would not acknowledge me in the room.
It sounds,
which is kind of like, okay, you're being sensitive, which I might be, but to not like.
Well, it sounds like bare minimum decency, just like, you know, shaking. Like, what's so bad about that? You know?
Yeah.
I understand if.
Like you went out, like it just seemed like they went out of their way to not.
You do think so?
Yeah, there was the one time where I was leaning on the counter and the owner was walking behind me and just said, "Oh, excuse me," and then like moved on.
What does that mean to you?
Like hey, hi, didn't even stop by to say hi. What are you doing? What are you working on? Nothing. Like no communication whatsoever.
Did you say hi to them?
I didn't know it was him until he was walking away.
But were you the type of person that said hi and shook hands and greeted people?
I go in, yes. Especially there, when I noticed they weren't doing that, which is a very small, like, take it or leave it kind of thing. I make sure to say hi to people because that's one thing that I've learned. Like, a wave, acknowledgement that, you know, I see you, you see me.
Bare minimum
right?
human decency.
Bare minimum, right? Especially like your coworkers, right? You know, maybe if I'm working with this person all day, like we can skip the formalities and get into work, right? But yeah, there's just a couple of times where I'd be like, "Hi, how are you?" And they would just go straight into it. And it's like, okay, we're all business here. No saying hi. And at my second job, it's very much the opposite, where dealing with customers, I say hi to every fucking buddy. Hi, how you doing? Do you find everything all right? To the point where my voice hurts, right? Because I acknowledge and say hi to everyone. I greet everyone. So I was already in that practice of doing that. So I just applied it to this first job, like just to be more on it. And
wasn't reciprocated by
correct.
Management.
But yeah. And I mean, and part of it's like, well, did I want to say hi to them? No. Like, a part of me I didn't even want to be around them, honestly. It was better that they weren't there if I was working.
I want to ask you, like, rapid fire, like boom, 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 bullet point. Give me some Chat GPT speed here. What are a list of some red flags from that? I'm gonna call them a client.
Okay. Like if they were
from those managers. Give me one and give me another and another.
The first one would be when I was working at the second restaurant, filming, taking photos, right? Doing my thing. I got a missed call. And so I ignored it because I was working and I used my phone. They called the store, the restaurant, to talk to me, to be like, take a photo of this. While you're there, take this.
Well, were you being watched or what?
They were watching through the camera. It happened on more than one occasion, and it's happened to others, where they'll call you to the restaurant and give you some direction because they're watching you through the cameras, which is a little bit...
It's extra.
Yeah, a little much, I think. Like, you're not watching your customers, you're watching your employees. Mm-hmm. And then they'll call you to correct you.
That would make me feel gross.
Yeah. And so...
I don't need to feel like I'm being watched 24/7. I'm already fucking paranoid.
Yeah, so... I don't know what that says about them, but I experienced that a couple of times. Another red flag. The micromanaging. The passive aggressiveness. You know, there's a way to talk to people, right? The lack of open communication and discussion, right? If I'm working with you, I don't know what's in your head, right? And if there is not an understanding, I want to understand, right? I want to be able to, we should be able to have a conversation and open that discussion up, but I was just not given the opportunity.
Give me another one.
I'm trying to think.
Do you have any moments where you're like, I wanted to quit right here? I mean, did it ever get that bad?
You tell me. I can't. There's so much that happened. Is there ever a moment where I was like, "This is it"? And
well, there was a lot of moments where you would come home and word vomit at me, and I was like, "That's the moment where I would quit." Sure.
But I have a lot of patience, you know?
I have a high threshold for bullshit myself.
I have patience. And the thing is, like, I liked the job. I really liked what I did, you know? And I even pitched, like, hey, for your two businesses, and then if you're going to ever open, I even had this conversation with them. If you're ever going to open, like, another location or you want to grow the team, I think I suggested an overall management team, right? For the businesses, you know, that includes HR, restaurant managers, social media, marketing, payroll, you know, all the upper management, right? And it was just like, there was no response to that. It was just like, no.
So this is the kind of contrast that I want to make here. If you were a guy, I would tell you, yeah, this is the way it is.
What do you mean?
If you were just like a bro, a dude, I'd be like, yeah, these fucking clients suck sometimes. That's the way it is. If you don't like it, fire them. If you don't like it, quit. Period. There's plenty of other jobs, straight world wise, HEB or something to get where you know, they'll greet you, they'll give you some basic decency and respect.
Right.
What is your response? And this is like an elephant in the room for me.
Mm-hmm.
What is your response to this? Claire, it's just a job. If they want you to be a monkey, ABC 1, 2, 3, spell it out for you, stencil it for you, stay within the lines.
Right.
Why don't you just do that? It's just a job. Why do you need all the bells and whistles? What do you say to that?
I can't fully agree with that because I did like the job. I really enjoyed the content creation, the being creative. I built so much content, and the analytics showed that I grew this account, how many, 5 accounts, whatever it was, right? I got so much joy out of going and filming, right? Had some really great coworkers, met a lot of great people. You know, I really believed in the business. But I think sometimes it's just like the management, the owners, just them, made it very difficult for me to accomplish my tasks and do the right job. So I don't believe that applies to everybody, right? And every owners and corporations and, you know, medium to small businesses are all going to be different. But I think these two, they just had their, like, wanted to have their hands in everything and could not let go. But while at the same time saying we're too involved.
And it's impeding on your work effort.
My efficiency, my productivity.
Right.
And so I really believed that, like I said, I planned for the future. I planned to stay there for a while, right? I wanted to keep going. I didn't want to quit, right? Could I have quit? Yes. So many reasons to quit. But I didn't want to quit because I liked the responsibilities and I liked what I was doing.
And ultimately you didn't quit.
And then I didn't quit.
So I think we should start wrapping up here. Mm-hmm. But I want to make sure that you get all your shit in. But talk to me, for the closure of the audience, about when they fired you. What was the reason for that?
So what was the reason? Oh.
What did you do wrong?
So what I did wrong.
I mean, because they fired you with cause, I presume.
Right. So I don't think I did anything wrong. Right. I don't know. I want to say that I don't think I did anything wrong. So every Thursday I turn in, by the way, my hours are 15 hours. So I complete them by Wednesday, pretty much. So by like Wednesday I work 4 hours, 1 hour, like 2 hours Thursday, maybe 1 hour Friday. They just like trickle down to Friday, right? And so I turn in the content calendars Thursday, turned it in like Wednesday or something, or Thursday. Friday I'm not working anymore because I'm not working that day because I already finished my hours, right? And I get a phone call from the restaurant manager and I miss it, right? Because I'm not working, not on the clock. So I didn't reply, I didn't call back, nothing, because it's work related. I was going to wait till Monday. That week, though, they were out of town. And I didn't know that until, they didn't tell me until Thursday. Or Wednesday. I said, are we having a meeting tomorrow? They said, we're out of town. Okay, cool. I said, this was the what day was it? The 23rd, May 23rd, 24th, right? There are certain things that are released at the beginning of the month, right? Certain things that need to be done a week ahead because marketing posters need to be sent out to the printer. And by the time I take the photos, make the posters, send it to them. They approve it. I send it to the printer. They pick it up. All needs to be done by the 1st, right? So I give myself like a week. I start like mid-month, right? That week, right? They did not approve anything. Well, I didn't know if they did or not. Okay. So to be more specific, like I took photos of drinks that were coming out at the beginning of the month. Immediately it was not approved because they hadn't tried the drinks. There was also other specials. We haven't tried the specials. I said,
this is already so messy because all those things need to be done before you're even out there.
Yes. Before so I think they should have, if they knew they were going out of town, none of it was approved before they went out of town.
So, I mean, let me ask you this, and I don't want to take you off into the weeds here, but why'd you even do the content if you knew that, if they hadn't tested it or whatever?
So some of the drinks could be modified, but they still look the same. So the photos were still there. Like I could obviously retake them, right? Did I know they were out of town? I don't think I knew they were out of town when I was taking the photos, right? But again, they could be modified, but I needed everything to be done so that I'm not rushing the last couple of days of May, right? Because again, it takes like 3 or 4 days to get it printed. Why they didn't try it before they left, I don't know. If they're going to be out a whole week, like they knew the timeline.
So they were going to be out the whole week. They know that you're going to make content.
We've been doing this for 6 months already.
So they know Claire's going to make content. I mean, they're kind of putting themselves in a position for failure.
Yes.
Is what it sounds like.
It was a constant battle of getting things in a timely manner. Getting things... I put myself on a schedule. I say, hey, we all know it needs to be done by this day, or we need to start doing it this day. At this point, it's like, or give me a heads up. At least if you can't make it, give me a heads up. Right. So I took the photos anyways. Of course, it was like immediately rejected. I don't have any information. We haven't tried it. Okay, that's cool. What about the rest of the stuff? Right. Because I got like 9 pieces of content that need to go out this week, including emails and text messages. Right. So yeah, I missed a call Friday. I don't know when they're returning. Right. But it was already Monday. Tuesday went by. I didn't hear anything. The restaurant manager's out Tuesday and Wednesday this week. So Wednesday, I said, are these approved? And she's like, you didn't get with the manager. I said, she called me Friday, but I wasn't available. And then she's like, well, I'm very disappointed in you.
Is this through email?
Through email. Very disappointed in you that she's like, I need to stay out of this. I was like, what does that even mean? She's like, I gave her feedback to give to you on Friday. She didn't get with you Monday? No. And I was like, no, I mean, even she's like, she didn't reach out to you over the weekend, right? And she's also CC'd in these emails. I said, no, she didn't reach out to me. I don't know why she was, in my mind, I was like, I don't know why she called me. I know it was work related, but I don't know what she was asking for. Even if she did reach out to me on the weekend, I said in the email, I was unavailable. I wasn't going to answer on the weekend. And she says, well, I needed to stay out of this. You two need to communicate better. I'm disappointed that you waited 5 days. This is why nothing has been posted. And I'm like, well, if you knew nothing was posted, but you also didn't say anything. Like every Monday we have an email and a post go out. And knowing them, they knew that it didn't go out. Tuesday the post didn't go out. Wednesday I said something. I don't know, was she waiting for me to say it? I don't know. And so I said, okay, so I sent you the process was I sent them the content for final approval. But lately it was like, well, ask the restaurant manager for her thought. Like what, get feedback from the restaurant manager and then give them then they give the final approval. So there's 2 levels of approval.
Okay. Too specific. But then? Yeah.
So I said, okay. So she gave the restaurant manager feedback to give to me, and then I fix it. and then I send it back to her, which is a long process for approvals, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm getting direction from you and your husband and the restaurant manager. Is she getting final? If I'm getting final approvals from her from now on, it needs to be one person, because for the past 6 months, it's all different directions, and they're conflicting too.
You didn't actually say that.
I just posed the question: who am I getting direction from? Because I'm getting it from all three of you.
Mm-hmm. So who's going to say that? Who's going to give the green light?
Yes,
only one person should give the green light.
I just posed the question, but for 6 months, it was all three were giving me different direction, and a lot of the times it was like, well, so and so says one thing, and they're like, no, do this instead. And it's like, well, if you know what you wanted, then just tell me and I'll do it. I'm not going to question your decision. Just tell me to do it. Tell me what you want. And so she replied to that email saying, we'll talk about this tomorrow, without the restaurant manager in that email, and just saying.
When you sent that email, what were your feelings? Was it just another email, or were you like, I'm going to get punished for this?
No, I knew that she didn't like it. She didn't like that because she only CC'd me. She only emailed me back.
It's a tough question to ask. Like, I'm in a similar position where I have someone who's in charge, but there's someone above them, and they give the final say.
Right.
So, but this other person's in a managerial role.
Right.
And so she has the authority to greenlight things, and they give her all the autonomy. And, well, I just said who, it was a woman, but they give her she has the power.
Right.
But there's still someone above them that has the final say. And so I know I have to please that person at the top.
Right.
I have to win them. They're the final say. Like,
right.
I know that, right? So I have that. But in the first couple of months where I was working, I was like, am I going to, I did ask. I was like, who has the final say?
Yeah, and that needs to be clear.
Yeah, it
right?
needs to be. So it's a fair question to ask.
So I have 3 people. And the thing is, like, the process was not narrowed down. It, at the beginning it was like, well, them 2 told me what. Sometimes it was conflicting. So I'm like, which one is? Sometimes the wife would be like, well, why did you what's this about? And I said, well, your husband said this. And then she dropped it.
He's also an owner.
Yeah, they're both owners. They both had to say, and they would ask each other, what do you think? What do you think? And then they would tell me, right? They would have this discussion in front of me.
Yeah, that's too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yes. And so at this point, I'm like,
so you send that email.
You bring in another person, right?
Oh, another person.
Right.
You send that email.
I send that email, knowing that she was not going to like that response.
Right. But you had to put your foot down and ask, because it's a fair question.
Right. Did she have to include the restaurant manager's feedback? No, I don't think she should. Nothing against the restaurant manager herself, right? Because she was great. But the issue was that we could not tell what their vision was. We didn't know what they wanted. And it was very difficult because they couldn't express that. And it was consistently changing.
I hear you. You've made that clear. So you send that email.
I send that email.
She says, we'll talk about this.
We'll talk about it tomorrow. And then I'm there, and they're talking to HR. And so I'm like, okay. And I was like, are they having a meeting with him? Because there's a lot of times where I show up and they're like, be here at 11. And they go over their meetings. And I'm like, hey, it's 12. Are we still having a meeting, or can I move on to my next task, right? They call me over, and they said, well, this is not working out. This was an experiment. They literally called it an experiment, and they want to outsource all social media and marketing. And I was like, okay. I reached into my bag, gave them the work phone, and they asked when I wanted my check, and we went over the details, and I said, thanks. And then I walked out.
Why do you think they fired you then? Do you think that had anything to do with your question?
Yes. I think the whole time I kept having to put my foot down.
Why would that?
And I don't think they liked that.
Yeah, you put your foot down. Why would that be a deal breaker for them, do you think? That you asked that question. It should have a clear answer. They should know.
Right.
They should know.
Absolutely. Say
the
me,
three of them
say him, her,
the three
whatever.
of them can't have that ability because, if the manager says, yeah, it's good, then the owner can be like, no, it's not. So it sounds like the owner is the decision maker.
Right.
Right? So it seems like a pretty easy question to answer But instead,
and it didn't go on,
and it never got answered.
It never got answered. And then at that end of the email, it was like, just to move things along, everything is approved. And I was like, okay, sure. Right. And I scheduled what I could schedule, right? I don't think, in my opinion, I don't think they understood what social media and marketing could do for a business. I don't think they were open to hearing what it could do. And I think I had a lot of opportunities where I was trying to hold them accountable for their actions. Mm-hmm. And every time I turned it around to, well, I need this in a time, I'm waiting on your approval. I am waiting on you.
But they wanted you to be independent.
But they wanted me to be independent.
But they're hands-on
But they were very hands-on, and they were micromanaging and telling me how to edit, what type of videos to do. They were specifically use stop motion. Only stop motion. I don't like what's in the background. Use stop motion videos. So I did, and they were like, well, we don't like it where you did it, so go do it again. And then I would go do it again. And so it was a lot of them. I don't want to use the word manipulate, but they were trying to manipulate the situation into getting me to do certain things that didn't align with what I was supposed to be doing as a social media manager, a marketing person. And they were just trying to tell me what to do and how to do it. And I would put my foot down because that's not how it works, right? Yes, you have a lot of say as a business, but telling me that I can't, there was another situation where telling me where I can't go meet a marketing mentor because a marketing mentor you introduced me to, and where I say that I'm going to go meet him to learn more about marketing, and he's a customer of your restaurant, so he's in a very unique position. But you telling me that's not a good use of my time. They
can't tell you who you can and can't meet.
Yeah. And at that point, I just laughed.
I forgot about that.
At that point, they laughed. I laughed because it's like not even my husband tells me who I can and can't meet.
Damn right.
Like I am trying to, did you not want me to market your business? I'm meeting with marketing people. I am a customer who does marketing, right? Like, why would you not, how could you say that it's not good use of my time? Mm-hmm. And then she brought it up again saying, well, if you do meet with him, it's on your own time, which I do meet with him, right? I'm still meeting with him. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I just don't understand. I just don't get it.
I can sum it up in a sentence. It's a failure of leadership.
Absolutely. There were also, I could go on, but there was also just employees who left because there was an employee who had his own restaurant for years, that same type of restaurant, and would give, this guy had 25 years of restaurant experience, successful, and then he sold it. And
it's a good guy to have on the team.
Absolutely. Back of house manager, whatever, right? The owner would not listen to that man. We both had ideas of what could work in the restaurant, what couldn't work, what we should be doing. All these ideas, all these suggestions. They didn't want to do it. It's like you have someone on your team who knows how to run this business, who has been successful, and you don't want to listen to them.
In this exact same industry.
Exact same thing.
Yeah.
I didn't want to listen to them. That guy left. He left. He said I was done.
Eventually.
I've technically had two people.
Yeah.
2 people, managers, that.
On your clock, anyways. During your run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one of them was like, he doesn't listen, I'm out. So, yeah. I don't know. I don't understand what was happening. I don't know what they were doing. I don't know what the goal was. Right? It was never clear aside from make more sales. There was never any, in my opinion, no teamwork.
We should have got a salesperson.
That's what I thought too. Like you really focused on sales. Like I can give you marketing, I can give you leads, but
branding,
all of that, right? But really inconsistent feedback, inconsistent work, roles constantly changing. They said that's how the industry is. This is fine. I understand the decisions, but it was really hard to understand what they were trying to do. And then to find my place in that position, you know, that's why I say communication was very bad, right? And I think you have to know why, as a business owner, you have to know why you're doing it, you know. And you can tell when, like, an owner loves what they're doing, and they love their job, and
they love the mission.
And they love the mission. They're obsessed with it, and I believe that they were not, you know. If you say you want this to happen, but then you want marketing to happen, but then take it away from your marketing person, then it's like, what do you mean? Then a lot of conflicting statements. So it was just like a very crazy experience. It sucked that I really liked what I was doing. Emphasis on like how great all the coworkers were, right? It was just like their leadership, like they couldn't communicate, and there were many times where I should have quit, but I didn't want to quit. And I really believed, like, their product was fine, and I really wanted to grow, and I wanted to help them grow. But it was just them who would criticize me, gaslit me, didn't treat me with respect. And it's like, you know, I really wanted to be part of the team, but no, there was no team. Absolutely not. So it was very difficult there at the end, but
we got to catch a flight.
I know.
But I want to end this on, give me 3 things in no particular order of importance that you learned working with this small business that you can apply to your own business.
Yeah, I think one thing is treating people like people are your biggest assets, you know. They're helping you. They're helping you grow your business, right? Why can't you could be more accommodating, flexible, understanding, you know, trust your employees, communicate with them, right? I learned a lot about management and leadership from this position, what not to do, really, right? And how to be a better person, right? I mean, a simple like hi is just like basic, like you said, human decency, right?
What's another thing?
I learned that I really like what I'm doing. I really like the content. I've taken so many photos, so many. I mean, it's on my phone, but I've taken a lot of photos. I've gotten better.
Press that shutter button right there.
Which one? This one?
That one. Memory card's full. I'm done. But this one's gonna stop too.
Oh, so
we gotta wrap up. The
camera's
just on you. That you really like what you do, social media wise.
Yes, I really like what I do. I could be better at it, but I think I'm okay at it. I'm good. I could do a lot better. I want more experience working with other business owners because I feel like I don't want that to be like a bad taste in my mouth. And I don't want that to be my only experience with other owners, because I've worked with other clients and they were perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. It was just, I don't know, them. And the other thing that I learned is that to pay attention to the red flags. Red flags. When they told me that the person that was hired before me left a week after she was hired, that was the first red flag.
Yeah, I was going to mention that, but you know.
She was there a week, and then another person left, and then another person left in upper management, and I was like, this is not going well. But
you were that meme of that dog in the fire.
Yes.
This is fine. I want to do a part 2.
Okay.
Because we didn't get to cover everything, and I kind of want to talk about a little more. So I want to thank everybody for listening and for watching. Thank you so much. Like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. There's going to be a part 2 in about a week. We'll do this again next Sunday. And just thank you guys for watching and listening. Rate this on Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts. I really appreciate you. Claire, thanks so much for spilling your guts out.
Thanks for listening to me complain and rant. Sorry.
No, it was valuable.
I hope.
There have been times where I've been wanting to jump on camera and vent.
I don't, but I know I just don't want to vent.
You know, but sometimes it's good to get it out and move on.
True.
And it's okay to be bitter for a little bit, but then you got to move on.
Yes.
I love you so much.
I love you too.
All right. Take care, guys.